Welcome to Visions of the Past. I'm Nancy D. In our last episode, we got to meet some of the pioneers that settled in the Sandy area. The village is starting to develop. It's a rough town with more saloons than churches and no law and order. Join us as the village of Sandy, Oregon begins to develop. In the first few years of the 1900s, Sandy was still a very primitive village with mostly muddy, unplanked roads, no public water system, no public sewer system, no city government or constable, no electricity, no dentist, and no doctor for a few more years. And it was a tough town. Saloons outnumbered churches with lots of alcohol available and little law and order. Sandy had its rough spots. With all the construction about to begin, the diversion dam on the Sandy River, the railroad to Bull Run, the flume and tunnels, Roslyn Lake and the electric plant, the situation would get worse for a few years before it would make a definite turnaround. The author quotes, "Despite the rough element that was present in Sandy, there were many good people, families with some family loyalty who had good moral values and a desire for a better life." Charles L. Eidelman and wife Eva Slarat Eidelman came to Sandy in 1901 and purchased the Revenue Store. They operated it until 1906 when they sold to George Bornstead. In 1901, a group of Lutherans decided to build a church on land donated by Caspar Junker, a Sandy businessman. In 1907, the name was changed to Emmanuel Lutheran Church. The old church still stands as one of the historic buildings of Sandy. It's on the south side of Pioneer Boulevard near Scales Avenue. Robert Junsrud sold his blacksmith shop in about 1905, then moved to Kelso where he built a new home and shop and later was involved in 3 different sawmill ventures. Junsrud taught Lee Coleman the blacksmith trade, so Coleman and a partner Lloyd Baker started up a shop in Sandy in 1906. It was short-lived, however, as Coleman soon decided to return to his first love as a guide on Mount Hood. Lee became a legend as a guide, climbing Mount Hood 586 times. Sandy in the early 1900s now had 3 hotels: Revenues, Caspar Junker's Sandy Hotel, and the Mount Hood Hotel, a 2-story frame building on the north side of Pioneer Avenue near Strauss Street. It also had 2 stores, Meinig Brothers and the Bornstead, formerly Revenue Store. There were 2 blacksmith shops, the Wirtz Furniture Store and Funeral Parlor, McElroy Drug Store, V.E. Fosberg Harness Shop, and Donahue's Stage and Livery Stable. Sandy also had 3 saloons, Junker's Saloon, Meinig's, and the Star Saloon on the south side of Pioneer Boulevard. Ludwig Hoffman, a builder, erected a number of buildings in and around Sandy for 2 years, including his home and also an attached building which he opened in 1909 as Sandy Meat Market. The family business thrived as there seemed to be activity everywhere. Work began on the railroad to Bull Run in 1909 or 1910. The powerhouse, the Sandy River Diversion Dam, the flume, and the tunnel carrying water to Roslyn Lake, an artificial lake created to hold water to be dropped into the new electrical powerhouse nearby. All these workers needed food, and Hoffman was ready to provide it. Hoffman's also had horse-drawn wagons with meat. Later, they would include other grocery items, which they drove on organized routes through the countryside so that housewives would buy from the wagons, thus eliminating trips to Sandy for supplies. As trucks became more available, Hoffman switched to this faster method of developing their supplies. A new industry at that time was the manufacture of hazel chips from hazelbrush to be used in the refinement of beer. The Bruns brothers, Wooers, and Meinigs manufactured hazel chips, and we understand this use of the chips was rather short-lived. Thanks for joining us. Next episode, we'll look into the churches and study some of their history. I'm Nancy D. with Visions of the Past. Have a happy holiday.